with that said, in terms of like assessing the response by Brazil's sort of elite or whatever the terms are rebanding around, and I have no doubt that this is not just Glenn Greenwald. This is not just a single voice. There is a concerted effort, obviously, to impose a perspective on Brazil. I think it's happening in the U.S. too, but in Brazil, it's that much more of divergent from what the structure of the system is. What was it that they miscalculated in terms of like Lula's response or the system's response based upon the legal system there that inhibited their planned coup?
Well, Lula is one of the most, as Michael Brooks probably said dozens of times on this program, Lula is one of the most clever and savvy politicians, anywhere. And he kind of had a feeling that might be what they were doing. So what he did, first we had this situation where people were running amok in the government buildings, taking a crap on the, filming themselves taking a crap on someone's desk or something and streaming on the internet.
They also took that from us. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I pointed it out to show the similarities, right? Yeah. Like it's just imported. That's not part of Brazilian culture. That's not an element of Brazilian culture to do that kind of thing,
I'm not sure it's part of American culture either, to be honest with you, but maybe.
It's definitely more American.
It's not like typical American behavior. Let's say that. Let's put it that way. But basically, Lula was like, so first the governor was like, oh, my security secretary, he's left the country. It's his fault. He's fired because the governor is a staunch Bolsonaro ally. So he was trying to protect his hide. But then Lula gave the governor like another hour and a half to try and solve the problem. And when it was still going on 3 hours into it, he issued a decree saying, well, that's that. The governor's lost control of the security apparatus in Brasilia. Federal government's moving in. And in 20 minutes, and they issued an arrest warrant for the former security director of Brasilia, who was with Bolsonaro in Florida. Within 20 minutes, all three buildings were completely cleared out by federal police and civil police, just showing how easy it would have been for the military police to have stopped them, right? Most of the people there were over the age of 50. It was a lot of like angry white Brazilians in their 60s and stuff. I mean, it wasn't like, but they're infiltrated within that group were people who were like, knew exactly where to go, who broke into the intelligence agency, stole all of their weapons and things like that. So it was coordinated. But anyway, within 20 minutes, it's cleared out without needing the military. So the base commander in Brasilia had 2,500 troops mobilized, saying, oh yeah, we're ready to help out. But he seems like one of these rogue military guys who was like really hoping there would be a coup. And so he wasn't called on. They weren't authorized to act. So I thought that was a very clever move. And now
so Lula preempted the opportunity for the military to get in and control the situation, essentially.
He knows how the military thinks. He's one of the people who helped bring down the first military dictatorship.
Right.
Yeah.
His brother was brutally tortured during the dictatorship. He was arrested by them. So he understands their way of thinking. That's why I think he did what he did.
And just returning to Bolsonaro for a second, if he's hiding out in the United States, right? There's been like dozens of Democratic lawmakers who have implored the Biden administration and Blinken to force him out of the United States and send him back to Brazil. And basically Blinken's response has been, well, once he gets charged, we will, extradite him like any other private citizen, essentially. But what's your read on that? It seems like now that he has these new buddies, he is trying to get a safe haven within an American context where he might be a little less culpable, or be able to be a free man. Where Lula, is it in him and in his interest to use some of the laws that you described to bring charges against Bolsonaro?
Well, the Justice Minister Flavio Dino, he just requested that the courts include Bolsonaro in the investigation into the coup attempt. So Bolsonaro is officially under investigation right now, and he's a suspect in all kinds of other crimes. In fact, the federal police were planning on bringing him in for questioning on January 1st for his comments about the vaccine causing AIDS or turning people into alligators or helping women grow beards, which was ruled in an investigation in Congress to have, exacerbated the number of deaths in the country. So he's got charges against him for a bunch of things. And I bet they'll just go through the regular procedures and file an extradition request at some point. But it would be nice if, the State Department always denies people visas.
Mm-hmm.
They're always like denying people from Brazil who want to take vacation in the US, just not giving them their visas for whatever reason. It seems almost arbitrary sometimes. Because, why can't they just, he's been given 30 days for a change of status because he got in on a diplomatic visa. And now it looks like some businessmen in Florida who are Brazilian are trying to hire him as a public speaker for Brazilian events so that he can get some kind of work visa or something. I don't see why they couldn't just deny his request for change of status. I think that's what these members of Congress are kind of suggesting. And I just want to say that at the height of Lava Jato and everything, when the DOJ was working with, the people in Curitiba to take down the Workers' Party, there's a group of around 12 to 25, varying in numbers, members of Congress who always stood in solidarity with Dilma Rousseff and Lula, a lot because of the labor unions. The AFL-CIO never gave up on them, always pressuring their lawmakers to stand in solidarity. And these are people like Hank Johnson, Rocana, Raul Grijalvia, Susan Wild, and they've been doing some fantastic work. I just think it's worth recognizing that what's happening with US government support right now isn't entirely because of like opportunism or electoral self-interest on the part of the Democratic Party. There are some people, Ilhan Omar is another one.
Bernie in the Senate too, right? Had that resolution.
Also, yeah, of course. Yeah. Bernie, the whole time, never bought into that Lula's corrupt narrative.